Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Intent to Home webinar with El Toro. We're going to give it a few seconds here to kind of let everybody filter in. Then we'll go ahead and get started. Got a lot of great content for today with some great panelists. So I'm super excited to walk through this today and talk through Intent to Home and all of its capabilities and kind of great advances. Looks like people are joining quickly here. We'll start in a couple seconds. Let a few more people join. Awesome. Well, while people continue to filter in, we're going to go ahead and get started to be mindful of everybody's time. So again, we really appreciate you all joining today. We have a great webinar ahead of us with some really amazing panelists. This is scheduled for 30 minutes, and there'll be about 20 minutes of content with a Q&A session at the end. There is a chat feature. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop those in the Q&A. Some of those will be answered live if we get to them. We also have a team that is able to answer some of those through the chat. And if not, we'll follow up with you after the webinar to answer any of those leftover questions. So it looks like we have the majority of the participants, so we're going to get started and introduce the panelists for today. Starting off, my name is Alyssa Rydell, and I am a sales executive here at El Toro. I've been with the company for 5 years now. And I am accompanied by two of my colleagues, first being Nick Phelps and the other one being David Stadler, who is one of the three founders of El Toro. So Nick, I'll hand it over to you to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Phelps. I've been with El Toro since 2018, and I am currently our intent to home specialist. So I'm really looking forward to imparting my knowledge on you all today and looking forward to answering any questions that come up along the way.
Thanks, Nick. And David?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me, Alyssa. I'm Dave Stadler. I'm one of the founders, so I've been here from the beginning, and I am responsible for operations and sales here at El Toro.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. And if anybody knows anything about El Toro, it's going to be Stadler. And like Nick said, being our intent to home specialist here, we're going to have a great presentation ahead of us. So before we get into any of the intent to home content, we kind of want to give the lay of the land and set the stage and just give a brief overview of El Toro. So with that being said, Stadler, I'll hand it back to you.
Sure, thanks. So we had been working a problem for some years when we started El Toro. And that problem was, how does one identify a household with certainty as they navigate the internet with a privacy-sensitive data point that can't really be easily misrepresented? So as we were working through this problem, we keyed in on 3 data points, and that's really from which the majority of our product portfolio emanated. And the cornerstone of these data points is the home address. That tells us a lot about people, with the IP and the MAID being the identifiers through which we target those homes digitally. And this introduced a degree of transparency and traceability that had never really been seen before or since in online advertising. Since our inception, we've been issued 21 patents securing our technology. We ingest well over 2 trillion data points a week. And this really allows us to adapt to that changing digital landscape. And we have been proud to be cookie-free since opening our doors in 2013.
That's great. Thanks, Tyler, for that background. No matter how many times I hear you kind of talk about El Toro, how it got started, there's always something new that I learned. So I absolutely love that and excited to get into things. So let's just roll right into it. Stads, you want to take it away to what is intent to home?
Yeah, sure. So historically, our solutions, they've operated as a top of funnel action where households with a specific or perceived need and or want are identified, and then with a very, very high confidence interval, we're able to target those digitally. Now, intent to home takes it a step further. Traditionally, we're at that top of funnel, but intent to home allows us to engage households expressing specific intent toward categories and keywords that have started to allow El Toro to operate more as that catalyst to move targets through the funnel and increase those returns for our advertisers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Stadler. So I guess the big question right now is what is it? What is intent to home? So intent to home is El Toro's newest data product that brings together web intent signals that we map directly to a household. We're taking online browsing behaviors from homes across the web and sorting them into topics, which are intent-based audience segments. These segments look something like, internet service providers, which that topic would encompass homes looking for, internet service in their area. They may be looking at something like news articles, a site that compares different ISPs, or even an internet service provider's website looking for pricing. Or maybe someone's looking for some HVAC duct cleaning services. Let's assume they've been to multiple sites researching this topic. By visiting these sites and completing these specific actions, they could be sorted into a topic named HVAC duct cleaning, to which we could advertise to people that are interested in these services. Right now, we have over 21,000 different topics to choose from, encompassing almost every industry. These are updated daily with new data, and new topics are created on a regular basis. So we should have something for just about everyone, and if we don't have it now, it's something that we can get, and we're always happy to talk about some different customization options. So what should you expect from your intent to home segments? You're going to have first off, you're going to have the ability to collaborate with a sales executive or an intent to home specialist like myself to customize your topics and make the best selections possible. Second, these are in-funnel targets that are showing measurable intent that we have verified and matched directly to a household using our trusted proprietary data you're familiar with. These topics are updating every single day with new data, ensuring your audiences are fresh with the best possible prospects. You can request specific date ranges for any of the topics. For some topics, it may be beneficial to look back a little bit further in time, something that may have a longer sales cycle, or you just want a larger audience. On the other hand, something like emergency plumbing or like emergency AC repair in the dead heat of summer, you're probably going to want to look at more recent data, probably like the last 48 hours, because these individuals are going to convert quickly. We want to help you get your ads in front of the people that are looking right now. Lastly, we're still using the same El Toro data you know and trust. We still leverage the IP address and the MAID, and everything still revolves around the household. Targeting's still done at a one-to-one level that we've built all of our products around, and this one is no different. So we mentioned earlier that we have over 21,000 different topics, and that's a pretty large number. So we had to make a way to create a way to find topics in a timely fashion. So we organized them into 26 different parent categories that encompass most all of them. So under these parent categories, we're going to have specific subcategories in which the individual topics live. Now I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa, and we're going to see what topics we're diving into today.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, we do want to run a quick poll to see where the interest lies. Like Nick said, there are so many categories that we have access to. So the poll should be popping up on your screen. Please note that we don't have room for all of the categories available, but feel free to scroll down as there are some closer to the bottom. And we'll give this a few seconds to go ahead and answer.
And if we can, I'd like to, navigate through this and show the audience the tools that we utilize that will be, we'll obviously have a screen share with various partners on the phone when we do this kind of thing, but I'd love the opportunity to kind of navigate the tools that we use to make sure that they kind of see what we're going to be working with when it comes to game time.
Definitely. Definitely. If you want to go ahead and pull that up. And it looks like based on the poll, two of the top answers were business services and travel.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So Nick, they said business services first and foremost. You want to go ahead and kind of walk me through an idea here?
Yeah, so right now you can see on the left side of the screen the parent categories that we saw the nice tileized version of earlier. So as Stadler selects the business services, we're going to see the subcategories be filtered down. So these are going to be all the subcategories that live within business services, and we can even narrow it down a little bit further. Maybe we look at something like heating and cooling services, and let's do plumbing and electrical. Those all kind of fit together nicely. So as we select these subcategories, we're actually going to see on the right side all of our different topics that exist within these subcategories. So we're going to have a few different pieces of information over here. I think the most, oh,
sorry about that.
There we go. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and perfect.
Darn hot buttons.
So yeah, you can see the different topics that exist here. So, the key pieces of information that I think are going to be most beneficial for most of us on this call is the topic names, and then we do have a short description too that gives you a quick example of what someone may be looking for to fall within these different topics. So we can look at things like electrical inspections. These are going to be individuals, different homes that are searching for information on electrical inspections. Maybe they had some new electrical service ran, they had a new sub panel installed, and they need to get it inspected. Or some electrical remodeling. We know that's going to be very expensive. Yeah, so we can kind of narrow down and look through and find the topics that make the most sense for your business objectives. There's a multitude of different topics here to go through. So, talking to someone like myself or your sales executive is going to be, super beneficial in helping kind of narrow down and find the topics that make the most sense.
Nick.
Yeah.
And before we get into the other, oh, sorry, go ahead, David. Did you have something?
Well, I was going to say, a lot of times it helps to sort of, aggregate some of these together, make an and statement with a geographic overlay, something along those lines to help narrow down specific targets here. Because really the approach to utilizing a tool like this is to ensure that we have a strategy developed that has the capacity to be a long-term deployment strategy to keep engaging the new folks that kind of come into those markets for specific products.
That's great. And that's actually a question that I just saw come through and I was going to bring up in terms of the geographical areas. As you said, getting as narrow as possible and really honing in on those audiences is going to be key.
Yes, and we definitely highly encourage using some sort of geographical overlay. Zip codes are probably going to be the easiest, but any geo identifiers that you have are going to be super helpful. These audiences, most of them are going to be quite large because we're looking at the whole of the United States. So if we can figure out on the front end what areas of the country we're wanting to target, we can give you counts and curate these audiences to make the most sense for you. So any way you want to pass us that information, we're happy to accommodate.
I think the second category was travel. Alyssa,
It was.
is that right?
Yep, you got.
All righty. So obviously, there's a wealth of places that we can choose to spend any kind of leisure money or travel money at. Obviously, some are really self-explanatory. Rental cars, easy peasy. Cruises, river cruises, Caribbean cruises, Alaska cruises, private aircraft. We all hope to be there someday. But we can go down a variety of these different categories, and you can see some of these keywords and descriptions that might help cater your segment to a specific need. So I'm going to hit luxury hotels and resorts, and you can actually see some of the property types that people have been seeking in a lot of their online navigation practices here. And you can utilize those to your benefits. So let's say that you're a direct competitor with some of these folks on here. You could easily come out and start engaging folks that are looking for perhaps some of these luxury properties. There's also a variety of different domestic travel categories here that we can go with as well. You can look for spas, you can go to various theme parks throughout the United States, RV camping, different road trip ideas for those folks that might be in the early phases of their investigation. I mean, this gives us a great opportunity to really capture folks as they enter into that process of, hey, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? How do I want to get there? And we can help deliver those advertising messages to the end user, or to the household specifically, as they are navigating through these waters.
Absolutely. And it is great having access to this tool. I think it's one thing to talk through the different opportunities and say, well, ideally, this is who I want to go after, but really seeing those descriptions and narrowing down and then narrowing in on the geographical regions and things like that. There's a lot you can do with intent to home. Great. Well, perfect.
So we mentioned earlier how this tool is employed to really identify households in market based upon some of those intent signals that we just went over. And it really operates as a great catalyst to increase the velocity of those conversions and increase those client returns. There's 21,000, so there's a vast array of topics at our disposal. And we've really uncovered, in a lot of conversations with various partners and clients and advertisers out there, we've uncovered a lot of different applications for this tool, either as a standalone segmentation strategy, or one that can be leveraged to further strengthen El Toro's existing product portfolio. So, think about folks that are, heck, maybe you're in the automotive business and you want to use physical intent indicators, you want to use digital intent indicators to create, a better perspective of who you need to spend those precious advertising dollars with. It's just, once again, it's about making sure that we have, that distinct advantage in, approaching these targets and really making, the environment favorable for those folks that are utilizing our tools to convert against those households that are in market.
Absolutely. And just kind of building off of what you were talking about there, David, is, El Toro's built all of our products for the most part around real life intent signals, people showing up at a physical location, someone showing up at a car dealership lot, someone showing up at a home for sale, all of these different things, someone actually doing something in their real life. But what we've finally done is brought in a solution that can find similar intent signals on the web. So what's really cool with what we can do is we can combine both of these. We can give all of our advertisers, a significant advantage over the competition by combining this online and offline behavior. Let me just give some examples really quick. If someone's looking for a Toyota online or a car online, we can see them show up those, I'm sorry, show up as falling into a topic related to those intent signals, but then we can also see when that person shows up on a car dealership lot. We can bring those intent signals together. Similar thing, someone looking for paint and they show up at a hardware store. Just a couple small examples, but combining these two different pieces of information that show real intent can give you the opportunity to build a very, very strong audience. And we also have some other data products that we can combine with this to make just some very, very neat audiences that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Great, thanks, Nick. And I'm actually going to take over and share my screen here.
Yes.
I can see it.
The presentation, awesome. Let's go ahead and filter. Great. So after hearing how wonderful Intent to Home is, all the great opportunities, all the categories and topics we can deal with, You guys might be thinking, oh, I have this ideal client in mind, and you're thinking, how am I supposed to actually activate on this audience through the El Toro system? So it is a super simple 3-step process. The first one being identifying that topic. So you'll work with your sales executive. You could work with Nick as well, to kind of dial in on specifically who you're looking for, that geographical region, all that stuff to get to that actual audience that is catered towards your goals of the campaign, but also your goals of your company to make sure that it's going to be a successful campaign. The second step is going to be that data collection and household match. So this is something that El Toro does. So once you identify the categories and topics and all that good stuff that you want to go after, we would pull that audience, match the signals as Nick and Stadler mentioned, and then be able to use that audience specifically for the digital targeting. So then from there, the step 3 is just deploying the campaign, excuse me. So you can run that through the system. We can send any type of creatives from banner advertisement, OTT advertisements to these specific households. And the best part being is that they actually showed the intent in that specific area that you were looking into. So it's a very, very easy process once you kind of identify and work with your sales executive to actually pull those audiences and then go ahead and deploy a campaign through our system. Stadler and Nick, did you want to hit anything else on this process?
I think you nailed it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And that is all we have on the content side of things. I'm now going to open it up for a Q&A. Let me go ahead and see.
And folks, we're tinkerers by trade here, so we love to work through specific problems that a business might have, anything that we can help with in these situations. So anytime you have an offshoot question with respect to this, feel free to give us a ring, call your sales executive. Feel free to toss us a ticket over in the operations side of the house as well, and we can work through that with you guys and work toward a solution. Like I said, we're more in the business of formulating these long-term relationships with you all and with our other partners to make sure that, we can keep people happy for an extended period of time. So as it sits, let's go ahead and hit some of these questions.
For sure. It looks like I have one here. How is this different from contextual cookie-based targeting?
I can start off with that one, Stadler, and maybe if I leave something out, you can build on top of it.
Yeah, sounds great.
So that's a really good question because it does. There is some contextual components to this, but the first and the thing that I want to mention first is we're still targeting at a household level. So with traditional contextual targeting, it's going to advertise on site. You're going to advertise on sites that meet your contextual criteria. So, an example might be if you're advertising for auto parts, you might be advertising on sites that, are contextually relevant to cars. People looking at like a car blog or something like that might see your ad. What we're doing is, people that are looking at these sort of things and showing this sort of intent, we're advertising to them across the web. So once we have that household, we're matching it to an IP like we've always done. And anywhere they visit, whether it be a local news site or ESPN, we're able to serve them ads wherever they are. So they don't have to be on a site that's, relevant to what you're advertising. So those are the big differences, Stadler, if I missed anything there.
Dude, I think you got it. I think you got it all.
All right.
Thanks, Nick. That was great. Let's see. Next question here. Could you guys explain more about the life cycle of the segments and how that process works?
Sure. So intent to home segments they're kind of fluid. So people are gonna. I like to kind of relate it. If anyone out there is familiar with our digital new movers product, someone that just moved into a home, they're in a buying cycle that for about 90 days. So once someone's moved into a new home after 90 days, we push them out. Intent to home works in a very similar fashion. different topics are going to have different life cycles. So, my example from earlier, like emergency plumbing, someone's probably not going to need emergency plumbing for forever. Um, you know, but someone looking for like a luxurious vacation, that they're probably going to be doing quite a bit of research before they book anything, before they start, actually making purchases. So, they're kind of gonna fall in and out of those different intent categories based on the topic itself, but then also how recently they've completed those intent actions. So yeah, someone's gonna stay in some longer than others. So there's no one set answer for this, but there's always new people being pumped in, and older households that haven't completed actions recently enough that are going to be pushed out. So you're always going to have a fresh prospects list to go after of people that have recently completed these actions that you can get your ads in front of.
I love that. And I think that is a huge selling point in using intent to home is that there is a capability of always having a fresh audience. That's something that sometimes when you run campaigns, it's kind of a stagnant audience. So the fact that we can, or they're constantly refreshing, kind of depending on what that audience is, that's absolutely huge. Thanks, Nick.
Sure.
Let's see. Kind of going off of that, and campaign setup, what does the turnaround time look like for this?
So the turnaround is actually pretty darn quick when it comes to pulling these in. I mean, we get the data, matched and all that kind of stuff. It's about a 48-hour lag. But once we kind of get those preliminary counts in play, once we develop that strategy with the customer, you can look for those preliminary counts in about an hour, in about a day, sorry. But it really is going to be influenced by the amount of manipulation that has to take place. If you need to pull from multiple resources, if you need to pull from multiple areas, if you need to overlay this with like physical intent signals, something along those lines, there might be a little bit of a delay with respect to that. But the majority of the audiences that one is going to desire to kind of pull down from the tool that we went through a little bit earlier today, you're looking at about a business day turnaround.
Which is great too, because then when you get that audience, if it's something you want to activate on, the best thing about our system is we can activate on that audience extremely quickly. So not only can you look at counts and all those good things, you can actually activate on that audience extremely quickly, which is huge. Looks like we might have time for one more question. Last question here. Are there any B2B applications for this product?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've dug through this data quite a bit, and we actually had a customer that was interested in some B2B when it came to using the intent to home product. We have lots of topics that would be relevant for these different applications. So some topics that I can think of off the top of my head that we have are intent audiences around people looking for business tax filing information, business ownership information, people purchasing or intent to purchase business related equipment like manufacturing equipment. Even something like, I know we have topics around looking for office supplies and things like that. There's a ton of topics that we could use. So, yeah, if there's anything specific that comes up, we're happy to kind of go through and dig through all of the different audiences that we have. And I'm sure we can find something that meets the business objectives. Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Nick. And that concludes the webinar today. Nick and Stadler, did you guys want to add anything before we wrap it up?
I don't think so.
No,
Good to go. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today and all of you online. We really appreciate you guys being here. Feel free to reach out to us directly. We'll also follow up with some information on the webinar today, or you can use your cell phone to scan the QR code. Again, I appreciate you all being here, and we hope to talk to you guys soon.